sedans, even though I had wanted the convertible. He had a diversified investment portfolio, season tickets to see the Virginia Cavaliers play football, regular seats at the Washington Opera, and sex 3 times a week, all managed with surgical efficiency. I had heard Henry brag that he'd removed a gallbladder from a patient in 19 minutes once. Skin to skin in under 20 minutes, he beamed. In the surgical lingo for time from opening the skin to closing the skin. That's 15 minutes longer than he spent with me last night, I thought. Skin to skin in less than 4 minutes. I'd spent my professional life reading subtle clues, the whys and hows of motor vehicle accidents, skid marks, velocities, folded fenders. These were the things that whispered their secrets to me. It linked me to Henry in a weird sort of way. I figured out what happened at crash scenes. He took over from there and did the neat life-saving stuff. That was Henry, captivated by the inner workings of anatomy and physiology, but blind to the cause and effect of the road we traveled together. This month, Henry and I would have been married for 6 years, happily for 6 months. Once I stopped worshiping him, he seemed content to purchase my affections. It worked for a while, but it was going to end today. I'd clawed to a position of respect as an accident reconstructionist. As a consultant, I was valued by law enforcement and insurance companies alike. As a professional witness, I was feared. But my hard-earned identity ended when I left my occupation bubble. Everywhere else, I was defined by the men who loved me. I was the pastor's daughter, Dr. Henry Stratford's wife. I didn't hate him. It's hard to hate someone who won't fight back. I'd tried endlessly to get him to hear me, and not with subtlety. I bared my soul and then my fangs. He walked away, silently slinking back to the hospital and the operating arena where he was king and lord. Henry J. Stratford, Jr., M.D., Ph.D., F.A.C.S., F.R.C.S. So many letters that they had to use 2 lines on his office door at the University of Virginia. I was young, a trophy wife, blonde from a bottle only because he wanted me blonde. I'd been arm candy at so many cocktail parties where I'd listened to the boys of surgery that I thought I could fake my way into the club. Just name an organ and attach ectomy or otomy to the end. Rant about long room turnover times. Reference Bill Roth, Halstead, or DeBakey every 15 minutes. And complain about low reimbursements and Medicaid. I'd spent the last 5 years smiling when pot-bellied men talked about blood, pus, feces, urine, or worse, as if secretions and their quantity should interest anyone but the ones who charted them for fun and profit. If Henry was the prototype, I thought, surgeons should be quarantined from the public, unleashed only to yield the blade to heal, and then herded back to their own boorish brood. The sweet brown milk in the bottom of my cereal bowl called for more. I shook out the last of the Cocoa Krispies and avoided my husband's eyes. Back on Sunday night, I smiled again and turned my cheek to accept his goodbye kiss. Functional, to the point, predictable as the way he double-checked his fly before leaving the house. I've told you 6 times, Henry. He looked past me at his briefcase. On to the next subject, the next patient, the next case. I'm giving grand rounds this morning. I gave him the dutiful answer he deserved. It was all the encouragement he needed to continue while I stared at the last floating piece of puffed rice. I chased it around the bowl with singular determination. It bobbed and weaved before I gave up and lifted the bowl to my lips. It's the new me. Down with etiquette. Up with savoring immediate pleasures like milk saturated with syrupy chocolate. Our data shows that pre-hospital IV resuscitation of the penetrating trauma patient actually worsens outcome over the... He stopped mid-sentence and watched as I backhanded the milk about to drip from my chin. I smiled demurely, set down the bowl, and intertwined my fingers on the table. I tilted my head to let him know he had my undivided attention and loyalty. It was a body language lie, further evidence of the heart-face disconnect game I played. He arrested the drop of his chin, and with a slight shake of his head to show his shock at my behavior, continued, the scoop and run approach where the paramedics avoid the time delays of field resuscitation. This answer was intentionally longer than the first to show my growing interest in the bull that issued.